Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? We were just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you're doing well. My name is indeed BirdDog John. That's not actually my name. It's just my stage name. You know, as I do. And hopefully you're doing well. Welcome to the show. I am appreciative of everybody that's jumping on. Of course, we have had a really huge week at NAB, and lots of things are going on here. So I'll catch you up to speed. You may have noticed we didn't have a show on Tuesday. But I'll catch you up to speed, let you know what's going on there. And yeah, we got a bunch of announcements, and so we have a lot of content to talk about. And today, as you may have noticed from the bumper, we're going to talk about X120. So we're pretty excited about that. And please bring your questions and inquiries and excitement and all of those things to the forefront, and we can definitely have a chat about that. So pretty excited about that. It's really big announcements for BirdDog and a whole bunch of stuff going on that has been going on at NAB. Now, that's kind of wrapped up, as I understand it. Yesterday was the last day. I'm not there, so I don't know. But I'm pretty sure, I have on my calendar that Wednesday was the last day, so I'm pretty sure that's it. Then you know, who knows? Well, then I know that the guys are traveling today, so they certainly wouldn't be, they wouldn't still be hosting a show if the majority of them are moving around the country. So we could maybe make a safe bet that the show is over. Or maybe there's like an exclusive or something like that I don't know anything about. But anyway, so let's okay, so where was I on Tuesday? So on Monday afternoon, I went home, and about mid-afternoon, I got really tired, and so I went to bed. I left work early, about midday, and then I got really tired and went to bed and proceeded then to spiral out of control in terms of my health for the next easily 24 hours. So I had a bout of strep throat, which just like ripped me apart for a while. And that night was rough. My wife chose not to sleep in the same bed as I do. And then, I woke up just like I was awake for most of the night, and I slept most of the day. The next day, I slept pretty much the whole day. I didn't move, so that would have been Tuesday. I didn't have any idea what time it was. I was out of it. My wife's quote from that experience was, "You looked like death." So evidently, my wife has dreamt about what I look like dead, and she said I clearly gave a clear depiction of that, whatever that is. So she said, "No, you look like death, and you sounded like death." So I don't remember much of Tuesday morning, like her leaving for work or anything, or taking the kids to school. Then she called me and woke me up midday and demanded that I have a virtual visit with a doctor, which I did later that afternoon after I gathered a bit of strength. And some of the symptoms had died down, like my chills had gone. So I had a visit. They diagnosed strep. They gave me meds. And I took meds at like 5:30. And by midnight, I was feeling great. And the next morning, my wife went off to school or to work. She works at a school. And my kids went to school and took the next round of the meds. And I was like doing a lot better. So I took yesterday off because I was still contagious, And but then after 24 hours, if you're on antibiotics, then you're no longer contagious. And so here I am, feeling pretty good, back to my normal self, and that is good stuff. But I missed the show during NAB, which stinks. So, and I missed a couple of meetings. You guys were like, "Hey, are you coming to this meeting?" I woke up in the middle of the night and completely had forgotten that I had meetings or anything. So there you go. That is why the show did not happen, and there were like no announcements, and nobody said anything because nobody really knew what was up with me, and I didn't know that what was up and down. So there you go. Hey, what's going on, Angus? Welcome to the show. Hopefully you're doing well. Good morning. What's going on, Ian? Hey, you're a cut up. Yeah, thanks. Hey, what's going on, NetHab? Appreciate it. Yeah, anyway. Hey, John Knutson, hello, Facebook user. Actually, this is Mr. James. Hey, James, how's it going? Are the Wi-Fi antennas removable for storage and packaging? We're getting into the X120 already. Yes, I have seen the antennas on the prototype that I saw removable. And so you would definitely want them to be removable if you were to move them. Now, here is a pro tip. I don't actually have an X120. The promise was that anything that you saw or heard about at NAB would be officially launched to the wild within 6 weeks. And so that is kind of the cap that we put on the announcements that we made at NAB, just because in the past we've made announcements and then deadlines got pushed back and whatever. And we recognize that not only isn't great for our image, but really frustrates the customers. And so that is our goal and our promise that whatever we announce at NAB will be launched in 6 weeks. I'm comfortable saying that because that's from the mouth of the owner of the company. So we need to, we're holding our own feet to the fire in this instance. And so we definitely want to let you know that anything you saw at NAB will be official in 6 weeks. So the antennas, though, are the standard antennas that you can, screw into most antenna devices like that. And so my impression is, yes, they are removable. I'm 99% sure that that's the truth. Somebody from BirdDog watching this show that knows better than me want to correct me, by all means. But I am quite confident that those are removable because it wouldn't make sense to make a mobile camera. And some of the announcements that you saw in alignment with this provide this camera to be extremely mobile, or point to that direction at least, that you would want to have those be able, pack them down and move them quickly and set them up fast. So there you go. The X120, this is power through USB. Now, this is not James asking. This is Mr. Kyle. Hey, Kyle, what's going on? The X120 does not power through the USB-C port. It is standard PoE. PoE Plus, which is like all of our cameras. Or there is an option to power this with a battery. And that is one of the other things that was announced, is a battery style mount for the camera, so that it can be a quick setup, but also you don't have to run Ethernet to it. It can be connected to a Wi-Fi, hopefully one that you control. It would be connected to a Wi-Fi access system that would then be transmitted over, NDI HX and back to your system. Now, I know that there's going to be lots of conversations about the latency and about how does this work and what are the trade-offs and everything. Yes, we can get into all of that. This show is primarily about the X120. Of course, bring your NDI questions in general, as always, to the show. Those are welcome. And I just realized that my hair light is not on. So, NetHab, I beat you to it this time. Give me 1 second, everybody. I was like, why do my shoulders look so dark? Oh, right. Black shirt, black background, no hair light. There we go. So there's a little more definition to my shoulders. Okay, maybe you did say it, and I'm not down in that level of the comments yet, but I did catch it before somebody told me. So the X120 does not charge or does not power through the USB-C. It doesn't have a battery. Doesn't power through the USB-C port. The USB-C is for UVC and UVA, so audio and video for USB function. That is what that port is for. Hey, what's going on, Samuel? Woo! I'm excited. You're excited. Pretty fun. According to the vMix Funtime live show, yesterday was the last day. Boom. Angus with the truth bombs. Hello, ladies and gents. What's going on, Marcus? Thanks for stopping by the show. Oh, I hope that you're feeling better. I am feeling better, and thank you very much. Yeah, it was a rough 24 hours, but my wife's sound sage advice was, please speak to a medical professional so that you don't infect the rest of the family. And no, she was like, I just don't want it to be something that you should be in the hospital for. So fair enough. And that was, I'm not normally the guy that would call the doctor, but I was like, she's not going to let me not do that. So I did make the visit, and definitely worth it because, man, I feel a whole lot better, and I'm not contagious, so that's great. All my office mates also appreciate that, so good for you, wife. Always know to trust you. I should default to that more often, right? So there you go. So you look like death. Yeah, your wife sounds like a peach. She really is. She's pretty gentle, and so if she says something like "you look like death," that's probably her trying to put it nicely. It's like when people say to us in tickets, "Hey, you should try and say this nicely," and I'm like, "No, this is the nice way of us saying it." It's like you shouldn't be mean about my network setup, and it's like, I know, but I did water down the. No, I'm kidding. No, she definitely meant it in the most loving way that she could. And if she said "you look like death," that is the gentle way of her saying what she really thought. And so there you go. And like I said, I took her advice, and now I feel so much better. So, I mean, who's to blame, right? This guy, 100%. Hello, sir. I'm looking for some help. What's going on, Matt? With cameras flickering. We installed two BirdDog P120s, good cameras. Can't seem to get the feeds stable. Okay, tell me a little bit more about the flickering thing. Yeah, tell me more about that. Because is the signal going away and coming back? Is it? I need a little bit more just description about what the symptom is, because it could be a multitude of things. Is the unit like power cycling? Is it does the image have lines through it? Do you find that it does it on certain resolutions or formats, like it does on interlaced but not progressive? Just give me a little bit more. I'd be very interested to know. Built-in microphones always break. It's true, and I think that kind of is assumed. I think that's where my assumption that these can be taken off comes from. They've traveled the world with the floor models that they had, and I've never seen the antenna break. So unless they held them on their lap on the plane, which I doubt, pretty sure that you can attach the antennas and detach them. So we just ordered another P120 just before the X120 was announced. Wide-eyed. Well, Samuel, in this regard, there are some actual pretty steep differences between the X120 and the P120, and I'm happy to go over those with you if you'd like, because you should know that the P120 is still the next generation of the P100 series, but the X120 I would not consider a successor of anything in the 100 series. Okay, it's in its own category, and there's a reason. There are reasons for that. So I'm happy to go down that road for you if you'd like, but I don't necessarily want to spend your time if you don't want to talk about that. So I missed the part about the battery. Yeah, so there's no internal battery. Man, this image is not great, eh? So I'm going to fix that. That is my P120 that's up there in the corner, in the crow's nest right now. And I've eliminated a couple of the PF120s just to kind of lighten the load on the CPU, hovering around 50% right now. I don't know. I'll see if I like it. I'm hot and cold about these camera shots, so there you go. I noticed, but I didn't want to say anything due to your death. Yeah, about that. We still can't see your hair. Yeah, oddly enough, the hairline is more about my shoulders. What's going on? 3 hours. Good to see you again. Welcome back. Does the X120 support Wi-Fi 6E, which adds a, quote, fast lane for real-time high-priority devices? So it is a Wi-Fi 6 device, not a 6E device, so it does not adhere to the fast lane priorities. I asked specifically about which generation of Wi-Fi 6 when we did the internal review about it because I needed to specifically get the data. I was told Wi-Fi 6. Okay, it will work on Wi-Fi 6E, but it won't do the differentiation between high priority data, which is kind of the thing with Wi-Fi 6E, one of the things with that. Now, you may also know that Wi-Fi 7 has been announced, and so here we go. Here we go with the stuff. But if you don't know what we're talking about here, if you are saying, wait a minute, it just says Wi-Fi, or wait a minute, they're putting numbers after the word Wi-Fi, what's up with that? There are different flavors of Wi-Fi, and there have been for ages. As an installer or a user of Wi-Fi, if you plan to use video over Wi-Fi, you definitely need to know the difference. Now, beautiful thing is that Wikipedia has them all listed in a nice, orderly fashion, and so you don't have to search far. Yeah, you go to Wikipedia, type, unless you're anti-Wikipedia. I don't think I've ever met anybody that's anti-Wikipedia, but hey, if you are, you might be the first person I've ever known. You look it up on Wikipedia. It'll tell you exactly the data and the specs and the long form data, by the way, of each of those categories. And so we're about to get into the Wi-Fi game. And I left an industry 6 years ago thinking I wasn't going to be in the Wi-Fi game anymore. Boy, was I wrong. We're running right back into it. So there you go. So it doesn't do the priority of the 6E stuff to answer that question, NetHab. It is Wi-Fi 6, though. And so be sure that you're using Wi-Fi 6 before you order an X120, because that is what we are testing and supporting now. More on that in later shows. That's where I'm going to go with that one. Hey, my network setup is still frustrating. Speaking of that, vMix is still dropping frames on my P200. I had nothing on the network but 2 P200s, 2 computers, and a Play. Okay, so it's dropping frames. What's going on, Angus? Your setup is not necessarily everything into a switch and back to the computers, though, right? Excuse me. You're doing over fiber, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? You're going to a destination further away. I'm going to try running the P200s through the NDI bridge to convert them to HX just to see if that changes anything. Will definitely change the workload in terms of the bit rate, but you shouldn't. Now, are you visually dropping frames, or is vMix reporting frames dropped? That's two different things, right? We get that all the time where it's like, well, no, it's buttery smooth inside vMix. It's just the vMix is reporting drop frames. Okay, that please let me know one way or the other there, because that I actually have that conversation more often than you think. So yeah, there you go. Did you see the post about Windows CPU parking being the cause of the stuttering in vMix? Did you see the post? Where was the post? Inside of the chat or like on Facebook or something? Because I have seen people reporting that Windows 10 has a... I'm going to stop playing with this cable. Windows 10 having an issue with things over a gig, like network NIC cards that are running over a gig. There's a patch out that does like 1.25 or something like that. But on Windows 11, there doesn't seem to be any issue with 10 gig cards. I don't know much beyond that. I kind of went onto the forums and found some stuff about, there's a known issue with Windows 10. They're working on it, but it's on the laundry list of things to be addressed with Windows 10. And now Windows 10 is not the thing. Windows 11 is their product right now. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to be on the priority list. And I don't know if it's going to be validated officially that it needs to be addressed. I just don't know. So I don't know if I'd love to say more on that soon, but I don't know. Genuinely don't know if it will be addressed. It may be an advocacy to move to Windows 11. Now, many of you in this chat in the past have posted that vMix is running just fine on Windows 11. And so I don't know if it's official on vMix's website that they are now fully functional on Windows 11, or if they're still saying Windows 10 is still our wheelhouse. But many of you have tried on Windows 11 and have reported that you have been successful. So you might be able to move over. I think Angus, I can't remember if you're one of those guys or not, that's advocated for Windows 11. But I really should move over. The issue is that if I do that, there's no going back. So I don't know if I want to or not. Many of you have said that you are using it, so I think that that's probably enough reason for me to give it a try. End time. I just haven't had a chance to do that. So the X120 and all camera product lines connect. Hey, what's going on, Kyle? Connect directly to cloud without a PC. When is that feature coming? Okay, so that is one of the reasons, the Silicon 2 things that we are trying to integrate with the product. Because if you can enable them as endpoints, and we've talked about this for a long time, if you can enable them as endpoints and get them directly in the cloud, now your workflow becomes very diverse. And actually, it's a cloud-managed system at that point. So we have talked a long time about Silicon 2 and about what that really means, especially with the integration of SRT. Because SRT, if you can get it to talk SRT, then the next logical step is to make it into an endpoint. So it's part of the roadmap. I can't give you a launch date for that. I do not know, but there you go. That is kind of the goal with a lot of this stuff, because NDI gives you the ability to get the video onto the network. Well, if you can get it onto the network, well, then the next logical step is, well, we can get it into the greater network, which is the WAN, and then you can get it into a cloud-based service and host it that way. Maybe vMix host it in the cloud or something like that, which is something I would love to try, by the way. I've never seen that done, but I have heard that it's great, and I would love to give that a go sometime. So maybe one day we'll navigate down those roads. Matt says, it happens on both cameras. The status goes between initializing and streaming NDI. As soon as the status changes to streaming NDI, the screen goes black. Okay, so the initialization to streaming issue is a baseboard and firmware mismatch. Generally, that's what that is. Which firmware are you running on that camera, and which baseboard are you running on those cameras? Let me know that data, and we can figure out what's going on. Our professors were anti-Wikipedia. What's going on, Balu? Yeah, because anybody could contribute to that database, and so it's probably not the reference papers that they're hoping that you're using in terms of validating your resources. There are two schools of thought with that. First of all, the public forum style of inputting data on Wikipedia actually forces you to put stuff up that's true for the most part, not just public opinion, because it's like the ultimate fact check, right? Because everybody's going to be reading it, and everybody can contribute to it and call it out as false. So it also then potentially, though, becomes the largest deposit of useless information. So who knows? I can understand why maybe a college professor didn't appreciate the complexities of Wikipedia, but there you go. The X120 is very tempting. Yes, it is. I may have to pick up a couple when they come out. You should. Please do. Everybody, pick up a couple when they come out. Matter of fact, you noticed in that video that says introductory pricing $9.95. So that is true. That is introductory pricing. When they launch, that will be the price. That may not be the price forever. So if you're tempted, or if you're in the market for an HX3 camera, there you go. Go ahead and pick one up, because that will be the price at launch. That will not be probably the forever price. So you heard it here first. Actually, no. You heard that at NAB. that is one of the things that was announced. Introductory pricing is $9.95. I don't know the time window for that, by the way, so don't quote me on that. But that's the plan right now, is eventually that won't be the price forever. So get it while it's hot. Hey, thanks for clearing that, Samuel. You are always welcome. We use P200s and P120s. They work wonders for us. I use them for both auditorium shoots and for our newly dubbed mobile NDI unit on wheels, live streams from anywhere. That's cool. What type of live streams are you up to? I would love to know a little bit more about that. I use a P200, that camera that's up in the roost. That one. That's a P200. That was my standard camera for a long time. And then we got a defunct P4K in the office that I was like, you know what, that's a 4K sensor. I will bring that into the show and use that on a regular basis. So P4K, that's the P200. It's on a rotation. So that's the P200 that's up in the roost. And then when we switch back, that would have been cool if it did it. When we switch back on the playlist, it will be the P4K image. Now the P4K, oh nuts. I meant to change these cameras. This is what happens when you get sick. I meant to change these cameras to 30 frames because that's all YouTube is doing. Didn't know that until last week. So yeah, I'm going to switch these over to 30 frames after the show. Hey, let's make a note so I don't forget. Switch to 30 frames per second. It's going to help the CPU load over here in good old VMix land. Troubleshooting. We plug the cameras directly to a TV, provided power supply to eliminate any possibles of PoE switch configuration problems. Flipping. Yes. So this goes back to that baseboard. And sorry, I'm probably not caught up in the comment section, so I'm reading these late. That is likely I'm 10 minutes behind here. Still baseboard and firmware issue going on there. Hey, whose Wi-Fi 6 apps are you testing with? Great question. Mr. or Mrs. Mr. James. Sorry, I had to reference Facebook to find out who you were. The access point that I know that they test. No, wait, I don't know the make and model. I know the make. It was a Netgear access point because they've been working very closely with the Netgear AV line. So it is a Netgear access point. I will do a little investigation work to find out if I'm allowed to tell you which one it is. And then maybe I'll report that on a future show. But Wi-Fi 6 is what they're using because it has a gig throughput and it will allow for the bandwidth requirements. Now, one of the things that you need to know is HX2 is also an option on this camera. HX2 maxes out at like 6 or 8 megs. HX3 allows you to go up to like 60 megs. Depending, this is day one of Wi-Fi. Depending on the congestion of your venue, okay, there's lots of factors to talk about and for you to understand. It's kind of complicated quickly. So here we go. Depending on the congestion of your venue, and depending on the congestion of your Wi-Fi space, depending on the congestion of your network, depending on the congestion of the data coming into the computer that you're using to switch the show or like hardware or software. There's a lot of things depending that will affect how the performance of this camera works. They have clean performance in the current version of the firmware that they're using on the camera, and the camera's performance has been working great in the shop. But there are so many things to consider. And in the shop, it's air conditioned. It is a quiet Wi-Fi zone. They control the airspace essentially around the, so they can turn off all the other access points that they were using. They can modify the network to make sure it's ultimately quiet. It will not reflect necessarily the exact environment that you're going to be using. And so when you get it, be sure you test, and then be sure you test, and then be sure you test, because you want repeatable results. When it comes to selling a product or creating a product, we try and be as inventive and creative as we possibly can. When it comes to executing and being sure that the product performs for you in the field, that's where we come in. That's where support department comes in, and we start going down that road of, all right, tell us what the setup is. And so my purview, my job is to make sure that the products are working for you post-sale, making sure that they're operating as you expect them to. When we introduce an element like Wi-Fi, and by the way, there's a PoE port on the back that allows you to do wired inputs on the X120. I'm just saying. It's an option. So no battery needed and no Wi-Fi setup needed. But it gives you all the cool features of the X120. This, you're just not going to use the Wi-Fi. But there's that. Let's put that aside. Now we want to use the Wi-Fi function. So Wi-Fi 6, if you don't know what that is, there are plenty of places on the Google that will tell you exactly what that is. There's a nice comparison chart I know that's hosted on Wikipedia that does a pretty good summary of the generations of Wi-Fi and tells you exactly how much bandwidth to expect and performance and all that sort of good stuff. And then you need to compare those stats. Those are the industry expectations. You then compare those stats to the stats that the actual access point, on the tech specs of whatever company you decide to go with. So there are some companies that are known, for example, of just being, they're the best. That's what we just want, the best. We're going to buy the best. We're going to sign the check, and you give me that brand. That's the Nike shoe, or that's the, I don't know what else is the best out there. It's hard to say. There's no like one universal company. And I know that shoe enthusiasts are probably like, Nike? That's not a, you can't say it anymore. So, anyways, the best, if I want the best, I'm going to go with this branded network company, and they're the best. Well, that's kind of subjective anymore. A lot of it is. And a great example of this is Netgear. Long ago, Netgear was not a part of the big boy conversations. They were a part of the Soho and the mid-sized business installations. They were the more budget conducive. I won't say budget friendly, because some of their stuff is expensive, but budget conducive so that you didn't have to mortgage your office building to afford some of their equipment. It was relatively in the realm in what I would expect network equipment to cost. But it was then scoffed at by some administrators because, you didn't, I can't believe you didn't buy the Mercedes Benz, that sort of thing. So instead of, Netgear has made a name for themselves, especially recently, in the AV space. And this is because of the 4300 at first, and now the 4250. And last year's NAB, they launched a nice little desktop version of it, but they have invested the time and the energy to really be one of the main players in the AV realm. And quite frankly, I only know of a handful of people that don't want to use it. And they have their reasons, just like everybody's entitled to an opinion. But yeah, they have their reasons as to why they don't prefer that style of branding or design. But for most of us, getting things up and running and installed, the 4250s they hit the nail on the head pretty well. So I love the Netgear story, because I've known the Netgear product line for a long time, because spoiler alert, I have belonged to small offices and mid-sized businesses most of my career, and I'm very familiar with that product line. I know that they're not the most expensive, because the places I worked for couldn't afford the most expensive. So I've had some experience with them, but all of a sudden I've seen them kind of rise to the top of the conversation when we talk about AV installations, and I'm happy for them. I think that that's great. I think that they've done the right thing with disrupting the market a little bit and saying, you know what, this NDI thing is real and serious, and somebody needs to support that, and we're going to do it. I love it when people do that, when they step up and they're like, you know what, it's time that we fix that problem, and they do it. And the problem was nobody was taking NDI seriously on the networking side. All the manufacturers were like, cool, this is cool technology, and we'll integrate this. And then Netgear, I don't know who picked up the phone first, but they got on the phone with NDI TV, and they got on the phone with BirdDog, and they got on the phone with other manufacturers, and they made their NDI profiles. And so good on you, Netgear. We appreciate you taking it serious. So we're moving in the right direction, folks, and that's one more step in the direction of NDI is the standard, is the thing, and that's exactly what's going on. So this is 100% local, all on one switch. That's the 42112 PX short SFP DAC to the computer. That's a bit of both. I can see it stuttering when I'm panning around from time to time. This is 1080p 60? Is that what you're running on those? In Facebook, with CPU core parking, every time it moves vMix from one core to another, there's a glitch. Oh. That one, actually, I'm not familiar with. NetHab? What's going on, Marcus? Will that be the last firmware update for the BirdDog Studio NDI from the release date? It should be NDI 5.0. And then this one says BirdDog Studio 366 as of January 20th, 22. So, yes, the Studio is slated for an NDI 5 update. And that is to the converter update for... I got my coffee here today, folks. The converter update has been one of the highest priorities for the engineering team. Now, they work on various things. There's like a scope of work that needs to be done. But the NDI 5 converter line is super important to be completed as close to the finish line as Fleet Manager, which is a show for next week, by the way. And that show I am going to be super excited for, because I've been asking for something like Fleet Manager for a long time, and the dev team delivered. And so I'm very excited about Fleet Manager, and hopefully I'm going to find out some more updates about it tonight. So I'm excited about that because I have an engineering meeting on most Thursdays, and pretty excited to kind of see and hear. Now, I wasn't at NAB, so I don't know the words that were said about Fleet Manager to the floor. However, I did sit through several dealer webinars last week and the week before, and have gathered the gist of things as to what it is that was shared. So there you go. We did dealer webinars before NAB went live so that our dealers were on the same page when we announced it to the public, right? It's a part of this whole growing up thing. One of the promises that we made with it goes along with the we don't want to announce anything that's not going to be ready to go within 6 weeks. And so that's another piece of getting a little bit more mature in the business, is being able to deliver on those sort of promises. So we want to be able to tell our partners in the business, our dealers, what's going to be announced before customers hear, because they're like, hey, we'd love to be able to say the same thing you're saying when you make the announcement. And then we can say, yep, and here's everything we know about it as well, to get the word out. So it's good marketing. So that is what that is. Okay, so back to Marcus real quick. So will that be the last firmware update? Yes, it will be the last firmware update for the Studio, which is it's already been announced, end of life. I did a little tribute video for it quite a while ago now, like a year ago. The tribute video for Studio, it has been officially end of life and is approaching end of service. And so the NDI 5 firmware update will be the last one for that product, and then it will be what it is. It will be released to the wild without any further kind of updates. So hold your breath on that one. I'm running vMix on 2 Windows 11 computers without any issues. There you go. Except for the stuttering business. Right? Is that the setup we're talking about? Did you end up getting a replacement lav mic? Yes, I did. 3 hours. Thank you for reminding me of that. Where? Oh, I took it in my office. Yeah, so I had them just send me a replacement, and I haven't really. I did test it to make sure it works. It is working, but now I'm really nervous because if I use it a bunch, like I'd only used it a half a dozen times and then it died. So what's the deal with that, man? Yeah, I don't know. It's a $9.99 Kickstarter price, so this must be Anthony. Yep, it's Anthony. Hey, what's going on, man? After launch, $4,000. Well, okay, that doesn't really line up with our pricing structure, so don't worry about this. This is a joke. He's not serious about that, but it is the launch price is the under $1,000. So get them while it's hot. I can't encourage you enough to buy now. Buy now, save later. The more you buy now, no, I'm not doing that. I'm a really bad sales guy. I only know cheesy, middle of the night infomercial sales tactics, and none of those worked on me, and so none of them will work on you. Does the X120 already support SRT? Okay, so let's try something here, guys. If I type in birddog.tv/X120, we will be taken to the website, and whoa, office building is shaking a little bit. That always makes you feel comfy. Okay, so on our website here, let me just add this to the show real quick. Present, share screen, X120, share. I don't know why when I click share, it doesn't actually share. Okay, so this is the site. On the tech specs, as of today, it doesn't say SRT, okay, because this is an HX camera. And so I do not believe that the SRT function at launch is going to be here. I also don't know, for sure, I don't know if that will come to the X series, mostly because the point of this camera is HX3. That's what's on the video announcement. But also, you'll notice here that it says NDI HX2. So that is confirmed. Also does, by the way, HDMI SDI? SDI? Hold the phone. That one I may have overlooked. Let's go to the overview page. Oh, look at that. SDI. SDI, HDMI, and then UVC and UVA audio and camera. Or, no, not UVA. What am I talking about? UVC and UAC. Jeez. Audio and video for output over USB. That's what that USB port is for. So there you go. Now we got a 20 times optical in there, which is pretty stinking amazing, because if I say so myself, just because that camera is not huge and it's under $1,000. Well, at launch, it's under $1,000. Pretty great. And I'm looking forward to. Here's the thing about this camera is this camera has been one of the most requested products that BirdDog design and make. And not just for the standard customer cruising around on B&H's website. There have been requests there too. But this request comes from a lot of bigger installations and not necessarily for the Wi-Fi function. I mean, some markets have been asking for Wi-Fi, but just the form factor, the bitrate factor, the quality of the BirdDog product, the level of this one didn't shock me, but I'm really proud to say it. The level of customer service that BirdDog supplies to the end user, all of those factors were like, I just can't put a full NDI camera in. I need something lighter than that. And so this is the answer to a lot of those questions. Now we're trying to hit several markets, which means that not every feature that was requested will be on this camera. And, we have to make a few compromises. But this camera, super excited about, mostly because it, I think there is a place for it, and people are excited about it. I mean, the general understanding that I got back from the guys that were at the floor on NAB, the sales team, was that was the thing to talk about, man. When people were coming to the booth, the quote from the head honcho, Dan was at the show, and he just said there was never a moment on the floor while the bell was rung that there wasn't somebody to talk to about the cameras and about the software that was announced. So this camera was announced. So, but multiple softwares. So really cool. And I'm super excited for it. Now, the SRT function is not listed here. I don't even think it's coming, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am, because I think the primary purpose of this was the HX2, HX3 function of this camera and the connectability, so the addition of the Wi-Fi connection. Now, you will know. Here we go. Let's get into the Wi-Fi stuff now. And I haven't tested this, and I'm very hesitant to tell you anything that I haven't tested, but I have several trusted guys that do testing in Australia that I will confident in taking their word for it. One guy in particular. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Several that are not inventing the product and trying to sell the product in the same breath. Okay, these guys are actually trying to break it, which I love those types of guys, right? Because they tell me what the limits are and they tell me how to break it and also then how to fix it. So their job is to rigorously test this. And there are two flavors of HX in this camera. It is not an NDI HX1 camera. Okay, that protocol, I believe, is end of life. I don't officially know, but I have noticed that there's not a lot of talk about NDI HX1, the original HX standard. HX2 is in the wild and operating and on cameras. HX3 is one of the big announcements this year from NDI. And so HX3 is an attempt to bring the best of both worlds, the high bandwidth and the low bandwidth, and it's trying to be a middle ground, right? It's also an adjustable bit rate, and so you can turn up the quality by turning up the bandwidth, or turn down the and turn down the latency, or if you need to save on the bandwidth, you can reduce the bandwidth but compromise on a few things. So it's an adjustable version, which is kind of cool. In theory, though, with the Wi-Fi edition, you want to regulate that to a bit rate that access points are used to operating at. And what scares me is that every access point is designed by human being, and human beings do things in certain ways, but they're not all designed by the same set of human beings. They're all designed by different human beings, much like every product that you buy is designed by different. There's nobody unifying all of them or approving all of them or making sure that they did their code in likeness to how they would do it. There's none of that. So these are all going to be put on various configurations that will never be repeated again in the future. Some might be similar. You might have the same network as your friend down the road, or you may never buy the products that your friend down the road buys because you think his network is terrible. You know, it is a vast collection of a big melting pot of like stirring all of these network things together and making them work, adding an endpoint that is then jumping into this and throwing Wi-Fi on top of that is creating another element of we could not have planned this type of installation type of conversation. So when you are planning out your network, this is true for any network installation, to be honest with you. You're creating something unique. You're creating, and that is unique to you and the way that you do it. So adding a BirdDog product to it, we guarantee you that we'll make sure that the product is working according to how we expect it to work. But I can't go into too far down the road as to guaranteeing that your network and design will work how I think it should work. Does that make sense? Because the combinations are too endless. Like they just never stop. So first and foremost, first day that we talk about Wi-Fi on a BirdDog camera, I need to put it out there. you're going to have to provide a wide berth of grace when we're troubleshooting Wi-Fi stuff, because I will talk to you about it. Certainly here too, by the way. Bring your questions to the show. But there are so many scenarios that there's no possible way that we could test it by the way that you're implementing it. And so what we can do is verify that our camera is working. That is something I can guarantee. But I can't necessarily get beyond that too far. That concept was pitched to me at the beginning of my employment, and it became kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke, because most of the tickets that were opened early on in the days were people trying to figure out NDI on networks. That's what it was, and nobody was giving a lot of useful information, and I was volunteering to talk about networks, and so I was busy. I was busy a lot, and that's fun stuff. Hey, what's going on, Facebook user? And I'm assuming, again, that's probably... Oh, it's Jake. What's going on, BirdDog Jake? Are you back from the show? Are you home, or are you in travels? Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, good morning. What's going on, Josh? Welcome back. Hey, by the way, not all of Wikipedia is open to all... Okay, fair enough. Yes, a valid point. Somebody would like to realign my statement about Wikipedia. They restrict a good portion of certified personal... FYI, so a better source than many know. Sounds like a better source than many a professor know. But yes, there are checks and balances. By the way, I've submitted changes to Wikipedia and was promptly rejected because I'm a nobody. So there you go. Hey, I've seen 60p streams on YouTube before. Is your vMix file in 60p? Good question. Do I want to go down that road, though? I mean, for a little computer that's struggling already, I don't know. I don't know if that's what I want to do. Hey, the difference between the X120 and the P120 for SDI workflow only. What's going on, Lars? How are you? It's been a while since I've seen you around here. The differences between the X120 and the P120. Several. Let me see if anybody's jumped in here. Okay, not just yet, but sorry, guys. I'll try and get to the end of the chat so I can have more relevant. I keep going down like various roads, but that's the nature of the show sometimes. So the major differences are, this is an HX camera. Full NDI is not on the X120. So if you're looking to do a full NDI workflow and you're going to buy a bunch of X120s, remember that HX is different. So look at the comparisons between the high bandwidth NDI specs and the HX3 specs, and then the HX2 specs, depending on which protocol you want to go with. There will be differences there. If you're planning on connecting them through wireless, there are also going to be several unknowns in there that you will have to verify and test. One of the unknowns that I don't quite know much about is what happens to the video package latency when you are in a crowded Wi-Fi space. Not necessarily your access points or SSIDs being crowded. Maybe you've just got your cameras and your devices and your iPad on them. But what happens if the network space, like the actual channels, okay? What happens if the channels are busy and you okay, so for those of you who don't know, Wi-Fi comes in a couple of flavors in and of itself. Okay, so there's Wi-Fi 4, 5, 6, and 7, and so on. But then there are bands that you join. And in those bands, there are channels. And so this band that we're supporting is called AC. All right, so AC is a 1 gigabit standard. But on that band, then there are channels. And it's just like a radio. You tune into the channel. If you're talking to the same channel, if you have the passcodes and you're shaking hands, then you can pass data across the network. That's a really bad illustration as to how Wi-Fi works. So if you're saying all the right things and you're given the passcodes and everything's working right, then you can join the network and pass data. Well, channels are not exclusive. And so a great example is when you're in a hotel that has an unsophisticated Wi-Fi system. and you open your Wi-Fi options to join the guest network, and it says like, Hilton dash guest network 1, and then Hilton dash guest network 2, Hilton dash guest network 3, and the guy at the table says join any of the Hilton dash guest networks. Here's your passcode. It's your room, or some. What's happened is he's got a non-unified SSID, and they're operating on whatever channels they think are not busy. Now, intelligent networks, Wi-Fi networks, for example, will ban surf. They'll figure out which channel is less busy than others, which means that everybody will fill up all channels. It's essentially what that means. It's a great idea if you're kind of in an isolated zone, but it's not a great idea if you live near like an apartment building, for example, or if you have dormitories that allow you to bring your own access points, or again, people who don't really know how to set up Wi-Fi and they're using non-unified SSIDs, and so you have hundreds of SSIDs or multiples at least. So then it fills up the channels, and people can do that by accident, or people can do that on purpose, and that is still a thing. Well, what happens now that you're kind of caught up to the chaos that's happening inside my brain between my ears? What happens when you have a dedicated SSID that's on the least busy but a very busy channel that's shared with other SSIDs on other networks? Okay? Great example of this is I used to work for a university, and we would scan the Wi-Fi bands on a 2.4 gigahertz band. And so there are, there's 11 bands, but technically there's 3 isolated bands, and that are far enough away from each other. And so you have 3 to choose from. The access points have 3 to choose from. And I was creating a network that was a unified SSID, but was trying to provide the most coverage for the students in the dorms. And so we staggered and we layered access points. We tried multiple designs. Some of the guys that work for me now were some of my student workers that helped me install this system, by the way. So we did all this. We did all this background, all this searching and everything. What I came to find out was it didn't really matter what I did, because the apartment complex that was across the road was basically flooding the Wi-Fi area, the entire region, with wireless data on all channels. And so there wasn't really a great empty channel for my users to use. And they would get varying results, coverage, from all the congestion that was happening. So I'm very intrigued to see what the future data shows, because I think that the Wi-Fi option is great. It's a diverse option. How consistent it will be, I don't know. I don't know what the data shows for other NDI manufacturers that use the Wi-Fi option. I hear that most people are wildly successful, which is great. I'm looking forward to us also sharing in those successes. But I'd love to see the actual real-world data about what happens to performance when you have, let's say, 2 other SSIDs that are operating on channel 3, and you're trying to operate on channel 3. I don't know. I don't know what that means, or what the performance is going to be like. So there's a lot of unknowns, which makes me that's genuinely what makes me nervous about wireless. So the differences between the X120 and the P120, when it comes to the performance with SDI workflow only. Well, how do you plan to control the camera? Because the control of the camera will be done over the NDI network, whether you're Wi-Fi or not. So how do you want to control it? That's a major question about workflow for me. From what I can tell, the camera itself should operate as a 100 series camera. Let me just check one thing here. Because it is a H.264 compression like the other cameras. not compression. It's a H.264. Sorry. It says video compression, but that's not the right term, I don't think. And I haven't done this much talking this week yet. So my throat is a little out of Oh, look, for those of you who asked, by the way, power and dimensions, the dimensions are in millimeters, but they say without antennas. So yes, we can confirm that they do detach, by the way. Maybe it's on the main page. Just want to verify something here. I'm looking for it. I don't see it. All right, I won't say anything until I absolutely know. But if you're wired in, so if you're using network stuff, then the difference is HX to NDI, honestly. I believe that the camera should behave the same because the image will hit the lens and go to the board, and the board will spit it out SDI. So I believe those two should be the same, but let me double check because I don't want to tell you something that's not right. So that would be the biggest factor, I think, if you're only doing SDI. Work for an investment company, so a lot of live streams to clients. Oh, this is about the mobile unit. A lot of live streams for clients and update videos. The mobile NDI unit we use for quick reactive shoots. So we just roll up, place cameras, and we're live. That's pretty cool. We're going live next week on our first magazine-style TV show using the BirdDog decoders and encoders with Canon C500s and streaming, directing, editing from our little back room. Excuse me. So I've had a very interesting conversation with somebody recently. They want to do something like a flight kit for some like mobile, it's like a mobile church service that they run. And I've been really tempted to say, what about doing a mobile trailer and being able to roll up anywhere on the continent with a trailer and run the gig? That'd be a lot of fun. Sounds like you're living my dream right now, Samuel. Depending. This must be Anthony. He likes his cats. What's going on, Anthony? I figured out. I know your tell. Depending on what the other non-Wi-Fi things are transmitting on the same bandwidth, like Pterodactyl Bolt 6. Ooh, I don't know anything about this. Ooh, I'm going to have to Google this. It will never be seen on a Wi-Fi scan, and it will kill several Wi-Fi channels. Whoa. What's the story there? Hey, what's going on, Philip? Long time no hear from you. Hopefully you're doing well. How long is the GOP on the X120? I think it's on the tech spec, if I'm not mistaken. Is it not? 1 second. Oh, they didn't put it on here. I will get back to you. Because I will have to ask. Officially, I don't know. I still think that this is using iframes because that's what we use. So I can't say. I don't know. I don't want to tell you something that's not right. Let me open Teams real quick and see what I've got. see if I've got some resources at my fingertips. 1080p 30, i9, 9900, 32 gigs of RAM. I'm really looking forward to Fleet Manager. It looks fantastic. Angus, seriously, man, you have no idea. You have no idea. The dream, the beautiful dream that is being realized to open an application and see all of your devices and all of their names and all of their MAC addresses and all of their IP addresses and their current firmware and baseboard versions. And if there is an option to update from an FTP server, I mean, it is a support guy's like fantasy to have this sort of software. I promise you, I am so stinking excited about Fleet Manager. I haven't been this excited about a product ever because it's so huge for support. It's such a it gives like so many beautiful tools right to the customer. Like it is such a giant many answers to prayer. We'll put it that way. Yes, I'm very excited. Hey, what's going on, live sports broadcasting? So when I set PTZ preset on the BirdDog keyboard, why are the speeds between presets so different? Speeds between two presets are so different. One is fast, another is snail slow. How come? Thanks. So there is on the web UI for the camera, there is let me open my P200 because I believe that one is on the latest. So, BirdDog Studio P200 local. Did you mean 100? My computer's screaming at me right now. And, we could just do this. So, this is running the latest and greatest. And I'm going to just log into the web UI real quick. Sorry, folks, you're not seeing this. Actually, I could share this tab, I guess. So let me pull down the comment and throw this up there. In here, under cam control, you go to presets. There are individual preset speeds for the camera. Okay? When you set a preset, that matters. That preset speed matters. And so if you're changing them, if you're changing your cameras and calling preset speeds, that slider might be different for each camera. So you need to make sure that they're all the same first. And then you can save your presets here if you want. And you can save your coloration in addition to the location of the shot if you want. But this matters. Okay, where the preset speed thing matters. If you're only saving PTZ only, you can set it there. If it's here, if it's on camera, then where is it? There's another one here somewhere. This pan tilt speed movement is what you have to be conscious of. Okay, so this is on standard speed motion, first of all. There's also a deeper mode known as superfine. And you'll notice that these numbers are now 255. So some guys really want that granular control. They want the difference between 171 and 178. Okay. There are people out there. Some of us don't mind just having 21 options or 18 options. That seems to be enough for me, but it's not enough for everybody. So we get it. And it also has to coincide with the API. So make sure that you set your pan tilt speed, everything here, before you save your camera settings. Otherwise, if you're doing PTZ only, then you can change the camera preset speed here, and it should be the same for all of them for this camera. That's what's going on there. Yeah, it's not super clean. That's for sure. It's not super. It is actually. It gives you like so many tools. But if you're not aware that you have all those tools, there's a good chance that you're saving something that you don't intend to save. So those are the options. That's what I mean. Okay. Oh my goodness, guys. So you're keeping the chat alive here today. Thank you. Yeah, the NDI stuttering is the only problem that I've had. I updated Windows 11 hoping that the upgrade to 10 gigs would be a problem that would sort me out. Multiple SDI feeds are handled without any stuttering or frame drops. But NDI, I've invested so much money to move over to it. I wish I could get it working better. I'm just here to make you laugh. I appreciate that. Anthony, thank you. But wait, there's more. Yeah, Angus, we can iron this out. Something's up here. So tell me, it's visually stuttering? That's what you're saying? The NDI is stuttering visually in vMix. Is it stuttering in Studio Monitor without vMix running? Let me know that one. It would make sense that since SRT just needed the H.264 codec, and HX is just an H.264 codec, it would support it. For the same reason, both SRT and HX come together in Silicon 2. Boom. Good deductions. Wi-Fi 6 is AX. Oh, you're right. I misspoke. Now, I did notice that AC is on the tech specs. So I'm going to have them double check their tech specs because I'm pretty sure it's Wi-Fi 6 is what was announced. I went pretty strong on that, and so I need to verify that. But I'm pretty sure it's Wi-Fi 6, and I asked the difference. Is it 6 or 6E? And they said, no, it's Wi-Fi 6. So we will check. No, I'd stick with 30p. But if you're pulling 60p NDI feeds, that is definitely a waste of resources. My thoughts exactly. Which is why I'm going to switch it over after the show. Whoa, almost 12:30. I have been talking nonstop for like an hour and 15 minutes. Latency. What's going on? Tech thoughts? Video is a stream and there's no re-ask. So these packets are lost. Are you reading from my script? Did you get a hold of my BirdDog John say this every show script? I'm in lockstep with you, man. Yes, there is no re-ask. Did it arrive? No? Sorry. Next one. Because live video never happens again, right? This show will not happen again the same way that this show is happening now. AC was also included in Wi-Fi in Wi-Fi 5. That didn't include 6G band. Interesting. I have stepped away from the Wi-Fi game for a couple of years, and so I'm about to get re-immersed into the wonders of the Wi-Fi realm. Because, contrary to popular belief, networks are actually pretty diverse and intricate things. And to get them to work and sing correctly is a beautiful art form. It is. People don't appreciate this. Some people don't appreciate this. Some do. Some get it. When you design a network and you go in and you customize it and you set it all up and you add all the little things and you start plugging things in and they start responding and they start talking and then they start having a high throughput bandwidth and they start delivering the way that you envisioned it, and then something comes up and you go in and I made a little typo or I did a little something there and I changed that and that's not working exactly as I planned. And it's like, well, maybe I could do this, and you go in and you set it up and all of a sudden it starts working. It starts issuing the proper IP ranges and it starts delivering internet to only certain VLANs, and it starts doing certain things and starts behaving in certain ways that you envisioned. And it starts coming to life and people show up and everything goes according to how they thought it should go as the conversations that you have had with them as the integrator. And at the end, they're like, okay, great. Everything was good. Let's take it down. That's your thank you. When everything sings and everything goes off without a hitch and nobody notices anything wrong, that is the technician's greatest compliment. And there are only a handful of people that understand that exhilarating feeling of accomplishment when you do something like that and you and you know the back end, and you know the complexity, and you know how it's all being routed and all being managed and all being handled, and how sophisticated it is. But on the other side, where the user is interacting, whoever it is that you designed it for is interacting with it, they don't detect a single issue. They're just, man, this is great. It's all working. That is such a beautiful day. It's so great. And so my approach is, yeah, you can buy a device and plug it in from a network or from a store and turn it on and put in the default passwords and get your device online. Yeah, you can do that. But you are scratching the surface of what networking really is. And it's a beautiful day when you realize how great that is. So does the I don't know why I went down that road. Does the X I know why, because somebody had said, anyway, whatever. Hey, does the X120's latency match a full NDI camera? Any issues mixing X3 cameras with full NDI? Yeah, they're two different encoding processes, so you will see a difference. Depending on your network and how if everything is identical, then you'll just notice the latency between the two protocols. But HX3 is not the same caliber as full high bandwidth. They're differentiated even on NDI's website. So they are different, but they're NDI. They're under the umbrella of NDI. HX3 has lower latency than HX2. Full NDI has lower latency than HX3. Real world numbers, again, that's one of those things that's like, well, I could produce those numbers on my network, but the likelihood that you have my network is pretty low. So, yeah, you'll have to determine whether or not that's acceptable with an HX3 source. You should be able to get one of those via app, but does Test Patterns run HX3 now or no? It would be really cool if Test Patterns had an option to switch between HX2 and HX3, and then you could select your bandwidth. That'd be really neat. But I haven't played around with the new toolkit yet to see if that's an option. Think of all those people who walk in with phones. They all have to ask at least once to see what is available. Quite often they are chatty and are not quiet, like the people in the audience. Yeah, true. I would agree with that. Yep. It was a beautiful time. A beautiful age. Hey, sorry if this has already been discussed. I've seen a few. What's going on? The Pixel Mint. Welcome to the show. I don't know if this is your first time here, but welcome to the show. Don't know if this has been discussed. I've seen a few places that Silicon Tunas has been released for the P200. When I check, I only see the February release of NDI 5 and the public beta of Silicon 2. And Josh comes back with, there was a public release with it. There was a beta release, with it. Not sure that it's been a public release. Correct. The beta release of Silicon 2 has been officially launched. Now, I know that NAB happened, and that was what we were focused on. Let me just look at the downloads page for a hot second. And it is still listed as a public beta. I know that the team is extremely close to launching the final version of it. And so that is, I think they were talking about that at NAB, so that's within that 6-week window. So you should be looking for that relatively soon. GOP probably 1 second, 2 max, probably user definable. I can't speak on it because I don't know officially, but I will figure that out. Hey, I have to run. I'll try to pop in later, catch up after the show. Take it easy, Angus. It's always great to have you here, man. Thanks for joining. Okay, now we got Mr. Josh. Hey, John. Oh, sorry. Sup, John? Hey, I missed you at NAB. I missed me at NAB. Regrettably, I was not on the docket to join the NAB crew this year, but that's okay. There was limited seating, and we have a sales team in North America that's trying to cover a very large region, a small sales team that's trying to cover a very large region, and actually in the Americas total. So Filippo, who covers us down in South America, his region is probably the biggest of anybody's, which is unbelievable. But he was at the show, and the North American team for them, I think everybody or most of the North American sales team was there. So they were holding the fort, but we had to kind of keep it to a limit. So that was the deal, and that's why I wasn't there. But I missed being there too, and I'm sad to hear that. I'm not sad to hear that you were there. I'm happy that you were there, but I'm sad that I missed the opportunity to actually see you at the show. That would have been great. There was a bunch of people there that I would have liked to have run into. So yes, I have your script. Can I say this like Emperor Palpatine? In like some sort of evil tone. The muhahas after it make me think that you anyways, that some sort of some evil tone in your voice to that. HX3 is from NDI5, right? Yes, I believe HX3 did come with NDI5. So it supports RUDP, which does re-ask for frames. Technically, again, it's a matter of timing. I don't know. I don't know the entire sequence of what is held in buffering for that purpose, right? Because there's not supposed to be anything held in buffering. And so the only reason you'd hold it in buffering in the event that you need to re-ask for a packet. And so if you're not holding anything in buffering, then there's no time to re-ask regardless. But I don't know the entire, like I know a lot better the algorithm with the TCP stuff and the multicast stuff than I do the RUDP, but that's just purely because I haven't had a ton of time exposed to it in real life. I have my focus it's interesting to watch my trajectory in this job, because I was for a long time the only support ticketing guy, and then I had a team of a couple guys in other places in the world, and then those guys went elsewhere, and I built the team in Auburn Hills, and so now that team is knee deep in it's deeper than knees, but they're deep in conversations about all of this stuff. But when you're the only guy doing it, you're accumulating so much data, you're drinking from the fire hose at such a rapid rate. And then when you kind of stop doing that, your edge is not, you're not in the field refreshing as fast as you were before. So the RUDP protocol, I haven't gotten into the weeds with as much as I would have liked. So there you go. There you go. Josh reports that the X120 is Wi-Fi 5. Okay, so now I got to go back to the engineers because I was told something else. And you were at the show, so you would know. And I don't know how I would not. So, is this Tom Sinclair? Hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary from the Streaming Idiots platform over on Eastern Shore Broadcasting, and I'm just going to toss this up here because I need to give a little shout out to my friend Tom. Tom Sinclair is considered the GOAT of the industry. He's the greatest of all time in the streaming NDI world. And he's the king of vMix, and he converted me, which says something because that was a faith that I did not walk. And Tom enlightened me. So Tom Sinclair from Eastern Shore Broadcasting, the self-proclaimed Streaming Idiots, not a name that I gave him, nor do I endorse the name, but he says it himself. So I'm just regurgitating what I've been told. Tom is here, or was at least in the chat 8 minutes ago. Unbelievably, Tom, did you go to NAB, and how was it? And if you were there, my sincere apologies for missing an opportunity to be with you. I didn't get to go this year, and I missed out on hanging out with Josh. And if you were there, man, that's the final straw for me. I'm really sorry. Does the X120 do IP streaming? So give me a little more. What exactly do you mean? Because we do NDI-HX, but are you trying to come across in another protocol into vMix? Are you trying to stream this directly to a cloud service, for example? What is it that you are drawing at there? Because that would be interesting. No NAB this year. Wow. Crisis averted. Tom wasn't there, so all right. I mean, cheers to you, man. At least I know I'm in good company that didn't get to go this year. Well, there you go. There you go. That Tom wasn't there. So I had a grandson instead. Well, okay, if you're trying to one-up me, you had a grandson and I had strep throat. There you go. Congratulations. That's great. Tom, good times, man. That's so good. So good for you. Congratulations. That's great. Hopefully mama and baby and dad are doing well. I've been on the dad side of that equation before, and hey man, if you're a dad of a young child, we're here for you. We're here for you, okay? Not every forum is going to be here for you, but I am. And I appreciate you, what you're doing. It means a lot. But Tom gets to be a grandpa. And that's next level right there. That's going to be a new world. So maybe he'll have he's got a new talent to interview now on camera. Maybe we can convince Tom to have a co-star. All right, I've gone down the Tom rounds here. Silicon 2 was not released at NAB. The team is shooting for that 6-week window. That I know. I know they were talking about it, but they're talking about Silicon 2. But the beta has been up on the site for quite a while. The beta, there's two of the protocols that they don't have perfect, and so they're trying to fix that before they go public because they want it to be perfect. So I actually have the beta installed on a PF120. Ironically, neither of them that are mounted right now. They're actually sitting over there. I have the beta, and I'm running HX on one of them and SRT on the other, and was just playing around with them. Pretty stable in the beta. So if you want HX, it's HX2. Is it HX3 as well? Anyways, there is a flavor of HX, not HX1, on that beta, that works really well. And if you'd like to give that a spin, you need to put 9.4, which is the latest on the website. Man, I'm saying a lot of things that I need to verify here. Let's go here. NDI, P200, firmware update. Yes, 9.4 is the latest that's on the website. You need to be on 9.4 before you go to the public Silicon 2 beta for the HX option. And then you're kind of in a beta software. Word of warning, maybe don't do this on a production camera that you're going to use this afternoon. Give yourself some time, okay? Be sure that maybe the show is next weekend. I would be more comfortable, not this weekend, next weekend. Be more comfortable giving yourself a little bit of time. I didn't have any installation issues, but I would really, when you're doing beta stuff, you want to be able to give yourself some time to go back to the firmware that you know is stable. So be sure that you're on 9.4, go to Silicon 2, give yourself some time to play around with it. That is my strong advice in this scenario. NetHab. According to the 2023 page, Silicon 2 for cameras is now available as a free update for all P-Series and A-Series HD cameras. Technically right is the only kind of right. So I'll get an update about this tonight, to be honest with you, as to where we're at on that final release. The last I heard was they were extremely close to going public with it. So I don't know the day that it will go, but I do know the priority is it needs to be right. It needs to be operating correctly before we launch. Not these 3 are working and these 2 are not. That's not what we're doing here anymore. So that's hopefully music to your ears. Our UDP, Facebook user, this is out. This is Josh. Our UDP is a unbranded version of QI. Am I saying this right? QUIC. It's been used for years at Google. On that, if it, here we go. If it has if a packet is lost, the endpoint will add into the next acknowledgement frame a range which includes details about how many packets were received. A simple answer. So a packet may, that's a simple answer, he means. So a packet may be retransmitted or be recovered from another independent stream. I don't know how it's actually impacted with the NDI SDK. Well, what good are you? No, I'm kidding. Thanks. This is great information. It's more than I've ever had. Streams from camera directly to YouTube. Tom, I do not know that to be a feature on the list. I do not know that to be a feature on the list. This is also advantageous because it specifically gives the flow control parameters from the network and therefore is less susceptible to traffic chafing like flow control than TCP is. Oh. Okay. All right, the fog is clearing. Supposedly. Okay. So flow control is still advocated officially to be turned off in the NDI protocols. Like the NDI 5 profile, for example, which is in lockstep with the expectations of NDI, again, as I understand it, it's still disabled. However, I do know that there was a discovery several months ago that in some instances we found better performance when flow control was turned on and set to 1500, like forced, you know. So the RUDP function, which is mimicking this additional protocol that Josh is talking about here, quick protocol, thank you, is less susceptible to flow control parameters because of the way that it's asking for retransmissions. Impacted meant implemented. Got it. Hey, Tom, you can use the RTSP feature in the firmware to stream to YouTube or even over Zoom. Oh, I guess that makes sense. Yes. Because YouTube will take an RTSP. Oh. Sorry. My brain. Sorry. Just like something just locked in. I can't tell you about it, but pretty cool. Flow control is NDI 5 profile is turned on in the latest Netgear code. See? Better update my stuff. But it's in sync mode, not async. Oh. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Man, I'm saying a lot of I'm pretty sure. Let's stop doing that. Let's find out, shall we? Because I was talking to some Netgear guys and they told me to set it up this way. Mine is also in sync. Interesting, not async. Interesting indeed. Very interesting. Continue. Young. I would call you young Padawan, but at this point I think I'm the Padawan. It's all good. It's all good. The NDI 5 profile does 3 things. Profile does IGMP, flow control, sync, and sets the MTU to 1500. Oddly, Netgear Sherpa 9000 jumbo frame stock. Oh. That's strange. From the Netgear PM at NAB. Well, look at you just going to all the right places when some of us weren't even invited. I Oh man, I want to go and see John Hinkle. Do you know if I think it's Laurent? Is that his name? Or Lariant? I always get it. I say it wrong. Well, at least 50% of the time. Was he there or was he still in France? Because John goes last year. So the gentleman I'm referencing is the designer of the NDI5 profile for the Switch. I've had face-to-face conversations with him, but I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I feel very ashamed of this. But yeah, was he there? Because then I'll be super jealous. Not as jealous as I would have been if I had known Tom was there. But Laurent. Yes, was he at the show? This is a guy that I have been wanting to shake hands with for a very long time. Yep, that's him. Oh gosh, I saw his picture at the show on like a poster, and I saw John Hinkle. He posted a video of him outside the venue, outside the Las Vegas Convention Center. Yes, La Rent. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I've butchered this name so many times. Laurent? Is that right? It's like the 9+ years of Canadian French merging with somebody from Paris, and you know you're saying it wrong because French in Quebec is not French in France. It's really annoying. Really annoying. So my brain is more jumbled than required. There's the quote of the show. Funny enough, the original NDI5 profile did have flow control off. Yes, and that is the one. So that was the profile I was quite deep in 2022 because I was installing that profile at the table for NAB of 2022. And so I knew that one inside out. And then I never did a deep dive on the 4250 again, except for the little onesie-twosie changes that I made and firmware updates that I've done, because I've never had to go that deep into it again. So there's that. Yeah, crazy times. Crazy times. Okay, so let me just cover all my bases here and make sure that I'm not missing anything. Today has been a very busy morning. And recovering from strep was not fun, but necessary. And thus is the reason why Tuesday's show was mysteriously off air. So, really sorry about that, folks. I rarely like to miss a show without letting you know why, but I was unconscious pretty much that day. So that was the deal. But we're forging ahead here. Now that NAB has come and gone, we have some announcements that we need to cover. And, of course, the X120 was the piece of hardware that we launched, along with a cool little mount that goes along with it. So products, let me show you this real quick. I want to show you that mount because somebody was like, oh, I missed the thing about the mount. It is actually on the 120 website, and I'll share the screen just so that you can see where. Now, it's a black mount on a black website on a black highlight. So it's a little hard to see. Now I'm under some studio lights, and so I'm lit up on purpose, so it might be a little bit easier for you in the office. It's a little hard to see here on my screen, but there you go. It is there now. PTZ battery mount. The cool thing about this, somebody was like, wouldn't this be great? It's wireless, but wouldn't it be great if you didn't need a power cable, because then it could actually be wireless? Boom. Comes with an additional battery mount. I'm sorry, you can purchase an additional battery mount. It doesn't come with it. There's an optional PTZ battery mount that the X120 can be powered by a V-Lock battery and becomes an actual wireless solution. So go ahead and go on a B&H website and find out what a V-Lock battery is. Those will be accepted here on this, and then you just plug it into the camera and off you go. So really cool, really great idea, because now we can move this camera around and not have to worry about it dying. I have been told that we are up to, I'm going to say a couple hours of function on a fully charged new battery. Your results may vary depending on what it is that you're doing with the camera, and if you're drawing more than idle power. I don't know what the test was, and so I can't speak to that specifically, but a couple of hours is more than most of your shoots are going to be. And if it is going to be longer than a couple of hours, you likely have a second battery somewhere. So you would swap it out and reboot the camera, and it would come back up, and you'd keep going. So this is a new dimension of NDI function. And besides my concerns with the Wi-Fi stuff, and besides my, the general congestion of traffic in Wi-Fi channels and that sort of stuff, besides all that, in a vacuum, this is such a cool idea, because yes, now we are actually untethered, and we can just charge up the batteries on the weekend, and then when Monday rolls around, we got a shoot Monday afternoon, we go and we snap a battery in, camera boots up, giggity goo, we're off to the races. Maybe you're filming racing, but you're off to your show, and then when you're done, undo the battery, put it on the charger, and Bob's your uncle, and you're good to go. So that's pretty exciting stuff, that is now real, because it genuinely means that somebody was thinking, was thinking with this, it is wireless, but not until we fix the power. And then somebody was like, oh, you know what we could do? We could make a little mount for it. So that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and without even mentioning this whole show, thanks Josh, the X120 won Best of Show. What was the company that was it? I forget what was the actual company. There's a picture of Dan Mile holding the camera, and that went out on our socials. I think it's on Facebook that you can find it. Facebook, LinkedIn, a few other places that you can find it. Yeah, I had to look it up too. The vlog. Hey, what's going on, NetHab? How does the battery plug into the camera? Does it plug in with the DC barrel? TV Tech. Thank you, Frank. What's going on, Frank? There's a little cable on this. Let me go back to that screen real quick. There's a little cable on this mount that I'm assuming is a barrel connector, but I could be wrong. I have been wrong before, and I will be wrong again. Where are we here? How come I can't zoom this screen? This is frustrating. Anyways, we could assume that that's what that little cable is that it's to plug into the DC mount and supply it that way. I don't know of any other way to power it unless you plug it into the Ethernet port. But yeah, I don't think. I think that's how it is. Oh, and then Josh to the rescue. Power input is standard DC barrel connector. It's so limited playing shows that it can be powered by a power bank, though it will be, quote, unsupported. Thank you. To be fair, you have been wrong a lot. Wait, you've been wrong a lot on this show, but this time you're right. DC plug. Ouch. Okay. Wowzers. Yeah. I have been wrong a lot. You mean specifically today. Fair enough. Or I've just said, I don't know. It's because I genuinely don't know. I try not to make stuff up, because that doesn't always go over well in the future. Better not to make up things. Yes, specifically today you're wrong. Okay. Thank you. Hey guys. Well, that's it for me. I guess I've been corrected, lovingly corrected. I know that it's done constructively, so it's all good. It's all good. I've been wrong a lot, mostly because I don't have an X120 yet to play around with this thing. I would love to get my hands on it and find out exactly what I can tell you is true. The things on the website I know have been rigorously looked over with a fine-tooth comb, so those things are true. I didn't know that it was a detail or a DC barrel. It looked kind of like a USB-C plug-in, but I know that the USB-C port does not supply power. Can confirm. I know that one. And so I'm just messing with you. No, you're not. You're absolutely right. It's just hard to admit. No, so yeah, I know that it kind of looked like in the far away picture, it looks like a USB-C, but you cannot power the camera with USB-C. I have asked, and that was said no. So you have to power it with the DC or with PoE. That's how you're doing it. So there are some options though to power it with the DC. Maybe a battery bank if you'd like. Stuff. Okay, I need to first go take my medicine, which means that I need to end this show. But also, I've missed 2 days of work, and so the mountain of responses that I need to get to are in tall order. So I will need to leave you at this time, and I hope that you have found this at very minimal, somewhat informative, but hopefully that you have benefited from this conversation that we've been having in the chat. USB-C, I think, only supplies 5 volts versus the 12 that's required. There you go. There's the technical answer. The on the show answer is no, don't power it over. You can't power it with the USB-C. All right, there's lots to talk about. And so I strongly encourage you to rejoin us next week when we are going to go over some of the software that was announced at the show. We've already talked, now I won't say rigorously, but we've talked a little bit about Video Wall, and they had one at the show fully functional. So Video Wall is a real thing, and it is for sale, and it works with plays and SDMs, and you can buy it online. You can buy a package deal of play units that go with Video Wall. It's a great little platform. I think it's going to fill a need in the industry that is for just simple signage or simple, video wall stuff where we want to do a 2x2 or a 3x3 and just get it up and running quick. We've already got the source playing on NDI and we just want to toss it up there. Video wall is the answer for that. And so if you're looking at that for an option, or if you've integrated Video Wall already into an option, I'd love to hear back from you about what you're doing. The help desk is always open to getting pictures of, hey guys, there's no question involved here. Just want to show you how I'm using your products in my cool installation. All day. Send that stuff to us all day long. We would love to see more of that. We will send it to the head of marketing and say, look at the cool stuff people are doing. So the help desk is happy to help you. That is the whole purpose. But if you want to send, fun demonstrations of, hey, look at what I'm doing with this. This is really cool. No questions. Just want to say, here you go. Here's some info on what your product is, how it's functioning. Send that to us, because we would love to get overworked with the cool things that you guys are doing in the industry, and where there's, even if you don't have any questions. So that would be great. A great use of help at birddog.tv. I know that Frank, who is watching this show, one of the only support agents evidently watching the show, and he gets a gold star for attending. Knowledgeable for letting me know that he's attending. I'm kidding. I'm not playing favorites, although Frank, no. So he's one of the guys at the help desk, and him and Clay and Jessica and me and the whole team, we'd love to know more about what you guys are up to, and to get tickets that aren't really tickets. Just be like, hey, go guys, here's some cool pictures of my install. Do it. Send that to us. We love that stuff. and we'll pass those along to the people down at HQ. But consider that a channel to send that cool stuff over. We would love to see it. So yeah, feel free to do that. So help at birddog.tv. That's where you can get in touch with my team. We work every business day of the week, Monday through Friday, from 9 to 5 generally, sometimes earlier, sometimes later, to get you answers to your questions. It is one of the fastest ways to get your question resolved and in the most amount of detail. There are a few other avenues that you may choose to use. If it's just a quick question, like something that you would ask on my show, for example, you could use our support Twitter account, which is @help_BirdDogTV. And that channel is one that I own, and it gets piped right into the help desk, and my agents can just respond to you directly on Twitter. Okay, we can just tweet right back at you. And so really fast, say you're looking through things on the BirdDog Twitter account, and you're like, that's weird, how would this work here? And you want to just ask a quick question, just tweet at us. Boom. And we can definitely give you a response that way if you'd like. There is, if you're planning out your installation and you've got questions about products, hey, I'm kind of on the fence between getting a bunch of minis or getting a bunch of flexes or getting a bunch of 4K HDMIs. Can somebody help me decide what will be the best option for me if I want to encode and decode, or if I want to do this, or this is what my workflow looks like? The pre-sales team around the world is the best in the business. hello@birddog.tv is exactly where you find them. And we have somebody covering your region in the world. Okay? So if you ask a question in that region, it's region specific, especially, it will go to that guy or that team. So in the States, we have a team. In North America, in the Americas, wow, I need to include everybody now. In the Americas, we have a team of people that will cover your question. In Europe, we have a team of people that will cover your question and the surrounding areas, okay? In Asia, I've got a guy who, I don't know when he sleeps, but I've got a guy, Jason. He is amazing, and he can help you figure out answers to your questions about logistics, about potential workflows, about how it works, how it doesn't work, all of that good stuff. I've got guys over in Asia and Australia and all of those places specific covering your spot. So wherever it is that you're watching this show, somebody is watching out for your questions in your region. So hello@birddog.tv is the place to be if you've got questions about the product line, before you buy. And then if you're having problems after you buy it, my team is ready to go. So help@birddog.tv. We operate all the time. We're looking at tickets. We're responding to people all the time, trying to get answers, trying to get that ticket count down, and working towards people having a great experience with their product. And so don't forget to hit us up in either of those locations. And of course, you can join me twice a week right here, Tuesday, Thursdays, as long as I'm not unconscious in bed with some sort of strange illness. I will be here on this show to talk about questions that you have, but about BirdDog products that we have, NDI workflows, all of that sort of good stuff. We want to cover that with you and be a resource for you. Now, one of the final things that I'll say here is this platform is trying to do its best, but trying to do better about being a welcoming place for everybody to chat about NDI. And so when I miss the mark, your job is to let me know. And somebody let me know a week ago that I missed the mark. And so personally, I want to apologize for those who felt uninvited or didn't feel like they were a part of the community. There's so much stuff out there these days that is designed to divide us, and I have no interest in contributing to any of that. And so when that stuff happens, you let me know, and I will apologize for facilitating something that did divide. So I sincerely apologize. I'm very sorry that someone felt that way, and that won't happen again. So call me out on it when it happens. By all means, I want to welcome everybody back to the table. I want to talk about BirdDog stuff. I want to talk about NDI stuff. I want to talk about the things that I'm seeing coming and potential hurdles that we need to logically think through so that you can have the best experience with BirdDog that you possibly can. And so, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for hanging around today. It's been a blast to have so many of you very jealous that you, some of you went to NAB and I could not. A little bit sad. I missed seeing the sales guys that I've been working on growing relationships with, and they're great coworkers. They're good guys in the field. They are functioning. Again, I don't know how the sales team sleep or like have families or do any of that, because it seems like they're always working. And so they're a committed group of guys that are honest and who genuinely want you to enjoy using BirdDog, but to think BirdDog when you are looking at implementing NDI into your workflow. So it's a great team to be a part of. This is a great community to belong to. I hope that you feel that you're able to contribute and that you're able to jump in. If you want to join the chat, that is always happening on Twitch. Apparently it's happening on Facebook, although they don't let me know what your name is, so I have to watch on two screens, which is no big deal. YouTube over on the BirdDog channel and on mine at birddogjohn.tv, and then Twitch. So come hang out with us, and we'd love to hear from you, love to chat with you a little bit more as time goes along. My friend from Stockholm, what is going on? No Silicone 2 for Flex 4K encoders. I don't believe it was announced. I don't know about the encoder line. What is exactly, Josh? You might know more than I do at this point. Any news on bird.coms? No official news on bird.coms. However, so now that it's out, I can say this. Fleet Manager was the first domino. Okay? Fleet Manager was the first domino to launch. Because when Fleet Manager launches, that means that the firmware for the converters has to be at a certain level in caliber. So there will be probably a firmware update that needs to happen on the converters, and I'm hoping after, but potentially before, like the old school way, to get it to communicate with Fleet Manager in the way that we want it to give us the stats, give us the information that we need to allow us to do FTP pushes and all that sort of good stuff. But Fleet Manager is the first domino, and then the firmware updates is the second domino, and then Silicone 2 is the third domino, and so on, and so on, and so on. And so hopefully, not only are we creating a more consistent experience across the board, but we're also creating a faster way to deliver these sorts of features. And so really, really excited about that. Give us the unofficial news. I'm not permitted to give unofficial news on this channel, but I can't go on record about that. I've signed a contract. So I've signed I've signed a contract. So but there is no unofficial news, but I will say this: Fleet Manager is the first domino, and great things are afoot. I promise you that. I have looked into the Seeing Stone, like the wizards, the great wizards of Middle Earth. I don't know. My references are getting thin here. It's been at this for more than 2 hours. So I promise you, really cool things are on the roadmap this year for BirdDog. And Fleet Manager is the first domino in that roadmap. It is, well, I won't get into the Fleet Manager conversation because, first of all, very excited about Fleet Manager. It has been an answer to my requests for quite some time. And so it promises a lot, but Fleet Manager is number one. I know firmwares are on the cusp of that, and then Silicone 2 is a secondary firmware, which would enable additional functionality beyond that. Now, how that all gets launched and executed, that's a pay grade that I do not belong to. But yeah, that is something else. So yeah, there's no more shaming SMPTE 2110 now that Blackmagic supports it. When did they announce that this year? Or is that something that I just missed completely? 2110, Blackmagic supports 2110? Wow. That's a lot of data. They support it where? You know what? Don't answer that. I'll Google it. please. You asked so nicely. And you've been loyal to my show for so long, but I promise you, I am definitely not permitted to talk about it. So I genuinely can't. If I talked about it, I wouldn't have a paycheck, and I value that very much so. So I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, folks, I have had a blast with you today. Thank you so much for making a very rough week so much more enjoyable. It's you're a good group of people to be with, and hopefully you have found the hopefully you found today's discussion beneficial. Can we do an iOS app demo? That will be a part of upcoming shows. I promise you that. We whisper. We will not. Do you know how internet works? I don't think it's about the volume level of which the information is shared. This will be a part of a future show, definitely, because now that it was announced, and I actually have an iPad that would do this, yeah, we're definitely going to check this out and see how this all works. The problem is that my Wi-Fi network is not my NDI network, so here we go. Now it's time to switch it on over to something. I do want to rigorously test the endpoints that they're proposing that they're going to use in HQ. I want those to come here. I want to qualify them as a pseudo unofficial network guy, add them to my NDI network, make it a, lock it all down, whatever. And then, yeah, I want to show off that app just as much as you want to see it. So it will be a future show. I don't know if it'll be next week, but it will be soon. Full show on video wall because we've actually already done that. But the next thing that I want to talk about, one moment, please, is actually Fleet Manager would be probably a great place to start, right? So let's see if I can get my hands on a beta for Fleet Manager, or maybe just the final launch product, and we'll go from there. So I'll let you know. I'll post a schedule in StreamYard to let you know exactly what the plan is as I confirm shows. And if I don't have it, you know who does? Probably Jake. And everybody loves Jake. And so we'll have it. We'll have him. Hey, what's going on, Sean? Hey, thanks for jumping on. The wall looked very nice. Fantastic. I saw a video. It did look slick. I was very impressed with that. So NAB, I'll say this in closing. It's hard to see the forest through the trees, if you know what that means, because in support, you see a lot of products coming in and people having issues and their network's not working, or maybe the product is something's up with it, or they've had a problem with the firmware update, or people are frustrated, or people are feeling not as excited as we'd hope they'd be. When you go to NAB, people are pumped. And that restores your vision of, oh, yeah. Because the amount of successes that are going on in the world with our product line vastly outnumber the amount of tickets that we have or the people that are frustrated. And it resets that dial. Well, just seeing the stuff that the sales team has sent through and that we've seen kind of like internal pictures of, hey, guys, check this out. Look at this. Isn't this cool? All of that I've gotten a little, distanced excitement. I can kind of see it coming through, and it's always fun to see that stuff kind of come around. And so I'm excited about the new stuff. I mean, Fleet Manager, you're gonna find out why I'm so excited. I think you can already infer why. This new camera, X120, I'm excited to see its potential realized. That will be great, because if it does the functions on the box, and I'm sure they will, by the way, if it does the functions on the box, the application for this camera is going to be far greater than the 100 series, just flat out, because they're in larger installations, especially in government, in medical, in government/private endeavors, in military, in all these things. There are certain things that are true with the way that we've designed our cameras that can't be done inside the installation. That this X120 has kind of been designed to answer. And so if it's the real deal, then there are some really cool real-world applications that are going to come to light, and I'm very excited about what that means for the customer, and for BirdDog, and for NDI, and for the whole community. It's going to be great. So looking forward to that. Okay, I've tried to sign off of here like a dozen times, and I keep talking. And so officially, I'm going to peace out, and I'm going to put the 120 video back up as our exit. And oh, you know what? More talking. This video, I started this video at the beginning of the show, and it didn't restart on transition, and so now it will, because you have to click that box, John. So we're going to close 120. I hope you've had a great week. I hope you've been healthier than me, and I hope you continue to remain healthier than me into the weekend, and you're not on some sort of antibiotic. But hey, I'm recovering. We're back at it. Let's go. Let's get into this weekend as quick as we can, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, between 11 and at least 12, and maybe like today, if we get excited, we might go till 1. So cheers, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
Serenity now!